Okay, we're on.
All right. So today, WyndhamVossler has taken over VTuber tabletop. Merlin is currently in the back of a trunk or the bonnet. So we've taken over today. So hello one and hello all. I thank you for coming today. My name is Usubeni Yume. And I'm honored to be your host in the place you've been looking for all your life. Welcome to the other side. We are joined today by the witty and part-time catboy, Wynton Vossler. So would you please hashtag plug yourself?
Oh, well, yes. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Wynton Vossler, or as we like to say here, Wynton Vossler. Variety streamer, part-time catboy, definitely a real detective, and the player behind Dante, the, I hope, beloved Warlock.
Oh yes, the bad boy Dante.
Yeah.
And the pronunciation of your name is from Merlin's Germany, not the real Germany, as
Yeah.
we now know. Okay, so are you ready to get straight into these questions, friend?
Well, I
Kobe?
think I am.
Okay. So the first set of questions will be related to you, Wendy, as a player. So, first question. What is your history and experience with the Dungeons and the Dragons?
Yeah, so I have technically played quite a bit of D&D. I started about 4 years ago. Played with some good friends, and it was dungeon mastered by my best friend's brother. And we all sort of just fell in love with it there. But as a player, I'm a bit don't have much experience. Oh,
Mm,
thank you for the follow, waifu foo foo foo. But yeah,
thank you.
because I instantly got assigned the role Forever DM. So I've got all the rules. I just don't have the experience of a player.
Mm. Well, it seems like the mantle has maybe at least been temporarily taken away from you,
Oh yeah.
and it's been given to Merlin.
It's great being a player. It really is.
Mm. So, because you originally started as a DM and you're, I guess, newer as a player, what do you feel what do you feel is easier for you, DMing or being a player?
I think it's all about sort of just state of mind and the overall feel of it. Um,
Mm.
like I've done some like mini like one shots and stuff with close friends, and that is literally just no preparation, just improv all the way, and that's hilarious. It's amazing. Uh, but playing in a in a campaign with actually a real story, possibly
Mm.
consequences and character development is it also just it hits a different urge. It scratches a different itch.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I think that's also a testament to how good of a DM Merlin is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
To be able to come up with so much lore and also come up to make us so invested in the game, I think is quite a talent.
absolutely. To tie together all these people who've like with different experience levels and we've never played together before and just make it
Exactly.
work.
Mm. Episode 0 was was fun. Okay. Next question. What type of characters do you find the most interesting or relatable?
I am quite partial to like sort of oddly specialized characters. Like people who
Meaning?
do one thing really well,
Mm.
like for example, like a wizard who only does social spells to sort of help out in social situations or something like that. I think
Mm.
it's just like a really interesting way of choosing to play the game.
Mm.
Also, because I have a lot of fun with just creating
Eldritch Blast.
terrible, terrible things. Well, for example, like as a warlock, I have a ton of options to just specialize into my Eldritch Blast, which, by the way, I haven't done. I have other
Mm.
stuff.
Oh no.
I have stuff I haven't even used yet.
Hmm.
Yeah, the
And
secret of Dante's overkill power is not even like public yet.
oh god. Oh god. I've been scared of Dante, and I will continue to be scared of Dante. And so, going back to the question, I do know that you watch anime,
Yeah.
and I do know that you might have a thing for a certain wizard girl who specializes in explosions. Is that related to this in any way?
I think it's it's along a similar concept.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're like directly related, but I think just I like that type of character.
Hmm.
Also, I mean, other characters in anime who are not quite as useless also have similar traits. Like what's his name? Torma from Magical Index, whose only power is to break powers.
Huh. Yeah.
Like I like the doing one thing really well and then just struggling with the rest.
Mm.
It also adds many interesting roleplay options in D&D.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Like an
Do you
overpowered
feel
character
like
is cool, but a character who actually has a weakness is hilarious.
I think that weaknesses definitely make the character for sure. And then, do you think Dante kind of fits into that role that you just talked about, or do you think he's a little bit different without giving too much away?
Well, I think Dante has a few sort of utility skills and spells.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he sort of fits it in the way that he's great at well, he's amazing at fighting, and he's good at solving certain issues, but he cannot talk to people yet, at least.
So
it's sort of he has that big like weakness to him.
Mm-hmm. So you say that right, but Dante currently has the highest number of partners, as in theory, right? What episode was it where you slept with possibly 3 people?
Wasn't it the one
Was it
before
4?
last?
Yes.
Ah.
So Dante has currently the most partners. You've successfully bargained for cheaper prices. He successfully interrogated someone and like totally broke him down. So I would say that he's been very charismatic in his own way.
Yeah. Most of these things have been done with like none or poor charisma rolls, though.
And I think Lucy appreciates that too. He likes putting him in the spot.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
Okay, next question. If you, Wynton Vossler, were a D&D character, what would your race and class be?
Well, I think my race would probably be halfling. Uh,
Hmm.
it's my go-to because I like playing them, and also I'm not very tall, I don't know. I relate to the halfling luck feat they have of being able to
Hmm.
occasionally re-roll and like a nat one, because I have simultaneously great and terrible luck.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, and and as for class, I'm thinking sorcerer. Um,
Hmm.
I think you asked me this question on one of my streams once as well. I think I answered the exact same
Yes.
thing. Uh,
Hmm.
but I'm not uh, cut out for any real physical manual labor. Uh, and not studious enough to be a wizard, really. uh, I think I have the potential to be a bard, but for now I would be a sorcerer.
Hmm. Where does the bard come from? Curious.
Well, I have a pretty long history of playing multiple instruments. Uh,
Hmm.
that I mean, I do usually give up on them after a while because I get bored. uh, but I have been able to play multiple instruments pretty well. Uh, and once I sort of get in the mood, I'm not as
Ooh.
shy as I might be normally.
You hear that, everyone? Once he's in the mood, he's not shy anymore.
Once I'm in the mood, it just keeps flowing.
So so we didn't mention this in the beginning, but this would technically be all of our characters. All of our characters have been interviewed so far. So with that, I'd like to kind of round it out. So let's go ahead and talk about what race and class the other VTuber members would be. I think that'd
Ah,
be an interesting thing. Well, let's start with Merlin.
Merlin
I
is
think the class is a little bit obvious.
yeah, Merlin's definitely a wizard.
I was
Um,
gonna say barbarian. No, I'm just kidding.
he is of course a real
Yes.
wizard IRL. Um,
Yes. What race would he be?
ooh,
Because I don't want to say human, because I don't think he'd be exactly human. Let's see.
yeah, like
Oh, he says he sees himself as a knowledge
knowledge cleric.
cleric.
I mean that makes sense too. But
Hmm.
Merlin, aren't you just out for out to get those like amazing cleric powers that wizards just don't get? um, but yeah, yeah, what would be the right race? It's
Me personally, I kind of see him as probably one of the races with a longer lifespan.
I was thinking that too,
We're
but I
kind
just
of, yeah.
yeah, a lot of them just sort of don't. I don't know. They don't feel right. A lot of them, but it's definitely sort of a long-lived, wizened race.
Mhm. Yes. Maybe one of those,
Yes, gnome.
one of the non-playable ones. Oh, yes, a gnome. Actually, I could see that. I could see that. Okay, so let's move on to Astrid, racing class.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
could see her as a bard, and also obviously as a ranger, because she is a hunter or huntress.
Hmm.
Would you agree, or do you have something different in mind?
Well, like the ranger fits very well aesthetically, but I think bard is much more her mentally of being sort of what's the term? Uh, loud and proud, and just sort of going at it.
Mm, yes.
Yeah.
And race. What do you think?
Whew.
You know, she does do archery in real life. That's correct. She told me about that once. So maybe she's a multi-class bard,
Ah.
bard ranger.
Hmm.
And then race, I could see her as something sprightly. Um, maybe like a wood elf was like the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, yeah, some kind of elf, probably. Yeah. Hmm. That fits
Right.
very well.
So next, let's go with Pastel, racing class. She has to be like some snake race. Not really too familiar with D&D, so don't know
Well,
exactly what that is.
the official canon does have the Yuan-Ti, which is
Hmm.
a race of humans who mixed with snakes to get on the good side of some evil snake god. Which honestly, not too far off.
Exactly. So I think that's fitting.
Yeah.
What about the class?
Oh, the class is a tricky one, I think.
Mm,
Like definitely, like a learned one, but
Very
not
smart.
like, yeah, but not like wizard kind of smart.
Hmm.
Without trying to call her dumb.
It's okay. You only hear it when she sees this. So what does that leave us with then?
Like maybe some kind of clericy deal or.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I did ask her this once in one of her streams as well. She said she would definitely be more like a supporting class, and I could see that.
Yeah.
Just that she does help people as a job, so supporting class of some type I could see.
Hmm.
Okay, and then let's go ahead with Eidolon. Racing class.
Yeah, I've
With race? Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, like I've seen quite a few of her streams, and I sort of struggle to sort of really put a D&D image on. I mean, in terms of just aesthetically speaking, perhaps a changeling from Eberron.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, with the like she's incredibly skilled in making models.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, so maybe she like an artificer for class. Is that how you say it?
That's how I'd say it, at least.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe she's like a artificer changeling.
Mm.
She's so good at making these different assets and models.
Yeah.
Hmm. And then who else is left? Is that just me?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Tell me, what racing class would I be?
I mean, you are definitely a bard. All the way. with the poetry and the music and your mannerisms.
My mannerisms. Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Tell me.
That's just
Elaborate on the mannerisms.
the way you act and behave. Like, I mean, of course you are not Lucy, but you are cheeky and out to like mess with your friends.
Mm.
You're not afraid
Yes,
to
I haven't
be
seen
in the limelight for a bit and stuff.
Mm. You've yet to see my poetry outside of VTT, so I'm curious to see how that changes once you guys see that.
I look at your YouTube
And
channel.
then, true, but I haven't posted everything that I've written though. I have quite the collection.
Aha. Well, perhaps you
And
shouldn't
so,
post everything in case you want to publish it one day or something.
Yeah. So what about race?
Yes. Like, I you could definitely have a bit of that sort of jack of all trades kind of human-esque nature, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't elves get a bonus to their charisma?
I'm not sure.
Someone does.
But I think human though definitely fits.
Hmm.
That's the first thing that I would have given myself. And the reason for that being is that I like the idea of being just immortal, but still struggling to make a legacy, despite how long everyone else lives. I always liked that idea.
Hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next set of questions, which will be focused on your character, Dante.
Hmm.
So, are you ready?
Oh, I totally forgot about totals.
Okay. So, first question: what is Dante's idea of a good time? Because I have no idea.
Like
Because he's been up to some weird stuff in the VTT campaign.
Dante does all the stuff. I think Dante's idea of a good time is well, he's not very picky. Um,
Mm,
like I think he just sort of wants to sit and relax most of all, or help out with people's issues. I think he's just sort of pretty happy every time he's not in danger or surrounded by the unknown. So I think he would probably be at his happiest if he just got like a corner in some house and just sat and read his book. Maybe looked out the
So,
window over a big field of potatoes.
and so I do have an extra question related to that. Do you think that's because Dante um, doesn't really care too strongly about anything, or do you think it's literally just because he is more of an introvert and likes to, um, you know, be alone and not have too much going on?
I think he is mostly just an introvert.
I see.
Also, he's lived most of his life in a pretty safe and protected way, so he's not
Mm,
had to deal with too many monsters or bandits. It all really started once he journeyed out and started
mm.
adventuring. So it's sort of, I mean, most of the people in the group are young, but he is very, very young in his adventuring experience.
I'm very curious to learn about his reason for being here, or not here, but with the group. Just because he does not seem like the person who would normally go out and adventure, right? Just because he's so soft-spoken and so like, for the most part, kind. Um, so I'm very interested to see that development.
Yeah, he has his reasons.
Yeah, my theory. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just go out with it. My theory is that Dante is actually a host of something something bad. Maybe like Eldritch Horror host of some type. And so he's like a, not a scapegoat, but he's like a Trojan horse basically.
Aha.
He's infiltrated this group and whoever has taken a hold of him knows that he's destined for some great things. And in the guise of someone very nice and soft-spoken, he'll reveal himself, his true self, in time.
Is the audio better, Merlin? I did the things just before I respond to your theory. You may think so. Yes, good. So, of course, not confirming or denying anything. But it's just one day Dante just sort of pops and something walks out of his shell.
Exactly.
Just kind of tree man.
Yeah, see, I can see that. Like one day he coughs and like some tentacles like come out of his back, and then one day Aoife's like going through the forest. She sees like the skin of Dante like close, and then she sees like this tentacled monster like roaming the forest. Yeah, I could see that.
Actually, it's just an even smaller halfling riding a halfling mech.
Okay. Yes, that's the true lore, everyone. You've heard it here.
But it's
So next
somehow
question.
made of like trees.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, next question. So these questions are a little bit more on the fun side. So Dante and the group have to start a band. What instrument does each character play, and what kind of music do they make? You can go in any order you'd like.
Yeah, so I'd put Lucy on vocals, of course.
Okay.
I've put Aoife on bass.
Good choice.
Yeah. I put Emeth and Matif on guitars, as they are sort of, yeah, those kind of people. I put Dante on keyboard as sort of a, you know, like a good keyboard can really make a song. A bad keyboard can really break it. A mediocre one just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And I put Armesh on drums because that's what he does. And as for genres, I think it's gonna. I think this band would make multiple different genres. Like I think every party member would probably like influence a couple of songs more in one direction over the other, and then it would be sort of a more of a group thing than many like specialized bands.
So like a fusion of different genres then.
Yeah.
I see. What kind of music do you think each of the if they were to start a solo career, what do you think what type of music do you think each person would pursue? I could see Dante being like a techno, maybe like DJ type.
Oh, that could be. I definitely see Lucy as sort of a something special, like some kind of alt variation on pre-existing genres. And I'm not actually too sure of the others because they don't really have a. I don't know. Okay, most of them don't show off much musical themes. Like Armesh would definitely be so like slow drum and bass, something he'd get high to and just chill with.
I imagine something like the Beach Boys for him, like surfer music from the Californias.
Yeah. Maybe Matif would have some kind of
edgy music.
Yeah, like some emo punk.
My Chemical Romance. Yeah. And I could see Aoife being like a fan of like J-pop and K-pop.
Oh yeah, Aoife on all the K-pop, absolutely.
And then I think Emeth would be like listening to maybe like Cardi B, all those all those female I don't know what kind of genre it is, but those artists.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. You and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
Dante and the group are stuck in a bunker, a la Fallout. How does each character fare?
Mm. I've done this sort of on the current dynamic of the group, and just real quick, like Lucy and Matif kill each other real quick.
What spurs the fight?
It's gonna be like normal everyday stuff, like just being in the way or using facilities while the other wants to use them. Just like those two
Over
just
something dumb?
yeah, those two currently are just so ready to fight over the smallest things. And I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes, because I mean, we can't have that many incidents before the Tinder sort of goes alight.
Mhm.
This will probably change with time. Maybe one day they'll even be almost friends.
Almost friends. Yeah, I feel like right now the trees are on fire, but there's still the whole forest to burn down.
Mm. Um, I think eventually, Amesh would run out of weed somehow, and
You don't think he like makes it himself?
I think Dante would help him grow more.
Okay. Interesting. So Dante becomes does he partake in his creation or does he just
I can't really imagine Dante doing, partaking of the shrub. But if anyone needs plant help, I'm pretty sure Dante would always help. um, Emeth would sort of, I think she'd get bored out of her mind, and just sort of. I think in the end she'll just sort of stop wearing clothes altogether because she can't be asked.
I feel like that's the first thing that she'd probably do.
Probably, yeah. She's just like she wants the adventure and the money and and the journey, and just if she's locked in a bunker, she won't know what to do with herself for a good while, and she's just gonna be pacing back and forth, looking at Lucy and Matif fighting, smoking a bit with Amesh.
And then what about Dante and Aoife?
Well, I think Aoife would take it really well. Sort of just because she's so like composed and chill.
As far as we know,
Yeah,
I have
she
other
might.
theories about Aoife as well.
Oh, she might be just some kind of evil creature inside. But I think Aoife will probably dedicate herself even more to just her faith and just find reason in that. And help out.
Start the first cult.
I don't think she'd start a cult. I think she'd just continue with her current religion.
I see.
And Dante would he'd try and help everyone who needs it. Other than that, I think he'd just sort of enjoy himself with nothing other than maybe some plants and his book, which I don't know how much he can keep reading in that. It's not infinite, but he can read for a while.
The Eldritch Horrors read.
Well, if they're right, surely they must read.
All right. So, next question. What does Dante predict in the near future for each character? Once again, any order that you'd like to.
This is a bit tricky, really, because there's been some characters have really had some events to them, and others have had a few, well, fewer. Dante's kind of worried about Lucy because of the whole treason and prison and being sort of a suspicious guy.
Suspicious? No way. Sorry for taking you off your train of thought. Go ahead. Continue.
So, Dante doesn't suspect anything ill from any of the party, but he's sort of worried about what kind of problems Lucy could get himself into next, and sort of wants to try and stay aware to the situation. Maybe try and stop it sometime, unless he just terrifiedly gets. Well, unless he just pees his pants in terror. That's what I'm trying to say. Matif, we're sort of starting something with Matif now.
Yes.
Which is going in a bad direction from Dante's perspective. Just Matif is getting more angry and anxious all the time. And Dante doesn't like that because he wants things to be a bit chill, a bit peaceful.
Doesn't like conflict so much.
Yeah. So with Matif getting a bit more angry, that's a bad sign for Dante.
You mean he's about to reveal his true form?
Who knows? As for Emeth, Dante doesn't really predict much because Emeth hasn't seen much. Well, Dante hasn't seen Emeth see much progress. There have been the moments between Lucy and Emeth and stuff, but that was all when the trees were going on. So Dante hasn't experienced much in that. So it's sort of just with her, it's just sort of maintaining the status quo for a little while until the next thing happens.
And because I haven't seen the origin episodes, Dante does, out of all the groups, he knows Emmet the longest, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
And
that was just my question.
Okay. And with Aoife, I also don't really know. Of course, because Eidolon hasn't been available to play, Aoife has been stagnant. Because it's, of course, not cool to do character development on a character that's not your own. So, yeah. I think that Dante can't expect much. But Dante would probably like to get to know Aoife a bit better.
I'm surprised they haven't talked too much. I can see Dante not approaching Aoife just because he's a little bit shy. But I feel like if they were in a room and they had at least one thing to talk about, I feel like they could hit it off.
I think so too.
And so what about Amesh? You think he's gonna die again? Me personally, I just predict a lot more weed from him.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot more weed. I'm not entirely sure what's gonna happen with Amesh. He does seem a bit like he is both just the guy everyone knows who's off on the sidelines getting high, but he also has the potential to come in and actually be really, really important. So it's a bit difficult for Dante to put to put anything to him, because it's a very varied existence he's living.
See, I have it's not really a theory, but well, maybe it's a theory. But as much as I feel like he's very intelligent, and that although he does, enjoy his recreational drugs, I feel like whenever he interrupts someone or makes like a comment, I feel like he's doing it. Although he sounds like he's just trying to be dumb or just be random, I feel like he's doing it strategically.
I
or he's just trying to either ease the tension or change the subject. And I feel like he's wiser than he probably comes off as.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so the next set of questions are some of Merlin's favorites, where we will talk about the campaign, and we can do our theorizing, predictions, and everything else here. So, thoughts on the latest episode?
Yeah, last episode was pretty good, actually. I enjoyed it.
It's pretty good.
I enjoy everyone.
2 out of 10.
They're all pretty good. I don't want to put a ranking on them, because that makes it so that that makes it weird to just sort of there's gonna be too many episodes to rank in the end, so why start now? And I'm just so glad that we weren't late with the wine. Like, I've been worried about that out of character, and Dante's been worried about that in character. Of course, hasn't been very good at making that loud, but just sort of with all that added stuff about suddenly the border got extra tight, and we had to deal with wagons and all that stuff not fitting. So
let's start with that then. Yeah, so let's start with that. So why specifically are you worried? Were you so worried about the wine? Because me, I was worried. Or no, you go ahead first. Sorry.
Well,
why were you worried about the wine?
But it's sort of I don't know, me personally, I always try to get stuff done on time. And I sort of... Yeah, so that's just a bit of me going, oh, I hope we make it. Just out of this sort of sense of decency towards a fictional character. Like, I don't want to hurt the feelings of this guy who doesn't exist. And also, like, as for Dante, who's like, oh no, are we going to get scolded? Will we have to do more jobs? Is he going to require compensation? Like, all these mysteries that could arise that Dante would probably not be prepared for either. But, well, glad it worked out.
Yeah. Because Lucy he's wary of Xandros, but he's not really afraid of him. But me as a player, I am quite afraid of Xandros. Because, as Pastel very eloquently put it, he owns the ocean.
He owns the ocean.
And yeah, so I feel like if we had died during that episode, it wouldn't really have mattered to him, because I'm sure there's millions of ways he can procure wine. But I feel like he is the mastermind of some of the things that might have happened so far.
Probably, yeah.
And yeah, I feel like he's got his hands in a lot of things, especially now since it's been revealed that he employs some people that haven't been so good to our fellow Matif here. And so let's go into that. What is your opinion on these antagonizers of Matif?
Well, they're an odd bunch. Like, of course, we've not
Mhm.
seen much of them, but what we have seen is strange. With the, of course, Dante hasn't seen a spell thief before. Uh, there's a
Oh
guy
yeah,
with
that's
the
because he
yeah
was not there during the time.
busy dreaming of trees. Uh, yeah, that was the dude with the extra eye, and
Yes,
just sort of
that guy.
how casual everyone was about it. Just
Mhm.
what?
That guy was badass.
Yeah,
Like he didn't do much, but just the way Merlin described him, 6'9".
yeah,
I
that's just
didn't
too
catch
tall.
that until I rewatched it. But yeah, and especially that scene where he captured the lightning. I was just imagining that in my head. That was really cool.
Mm. That
But
was very cool.
yeah. But I'm interested to see how that development um leads into the future and also the next episode.
Yeah, next episode is gonna be real cool, I think.
Because for those who have watched it and you know they talked about, or Lucy was asking about um the girl that he has Sandros to look for, and for some reason or another, Xandros, he's like, "Oh, I've never seen her," right? But then he turns off, and then Lucy sees, a person on the boat. So my first thought is, why did he not acknowledge it? And what is she doing on the boat with these people that Matif seems to hate?
Hmm.
So that makes me wonder, like, are Matif's and Lucy's, kind of backstories going to fit in somehow, or like, are they going to be linked some way, and then their fates are connected in some way? I just think that's very interesting.
Yeah, like there is definitely some sort of connection between, of course, your two characters, and it's also just sort of great timing considering how angry Lucy and Matif are at each other right now. It's just sort of, oh yeah, also your pasts are connected, and you probably have to deal with things together to deal with both of your pasts.
Ooh, I didn't think of it that way actually. Them having to work together to deal with their pasts.
I just, I really hope that there is a little bit of peace before you have to work together.
Yeah. So we've kind of moved on to the next question, which is predictions for the next episode,
Mm.
and we'll just continue on that route. How do you think the Matif Lucy relationship will go? Because me personally, I think that the only way for them to kind of get over this is for it to actually explode, and
Mm.
from there they'll see whether or not they'll decide to be friendly to each other, or not really care about each other, or continue to be antagonizing. Because I feel like both of their egos and personalities are much too big. And I feel like if they were to just ignore it or compromise, I feel like they wouldn't be satisfied with that.
Yeah, I feel that too. Like right now, there is just too much bad stuff between them for it to not. You need to release it so you can really start anew, kind of.
Mm.
Uh, because yeah, neither of these two characters will at all be happy about a compromise. That is just not the way that these people work, I think. Uh, See, yeah, like when it happens, I had no idea, but I think that there'll be a little while before there's really gonna be sort of. I think there might be a few minor explosions before you really get to the big one. That is, of course, something that both you and Pastel have the the power to change.
Hey, I'm just going with what Lucy would say. Can't think.
And that is probably the best thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And so let's go ahead and talk about some of the other character relationships that are also going on. So let's talk about Lucy and Dante. They've had a few moments together.
Mm.
But how do you feel about their current relationship, and where do you think it's gonna go?
I think there could be some pretty good stuff between Lucy and Dante. Because Lucy, of course, tries so much to get Dante to open up and to tease him with his awkwardness and his anxiety. So it's sort of, I think being with Lucy could either be like the best way to make Dante open up sooner, or a great way to get killed early.
Very true, very true. I think it all started when Lucy was in his poetry performance in one of the earlier episodes, and he had Dante do his lights.
Mm.
And I think since then, Lucy's convinced him to flirt with multiple people, and also bargain. And then I think they also had a moment when they were talking with Mario Garcia, where they got to get a little bit into about, their feelings and all those things.
Yeah, I feel like that was a pretty constructive moment between them. Yeah. It's a good thing I noticed you. I just sneak off.
Well,
like
I didn't roll very well on
guy.
that one.
Also, I didn't sleep. I just sit there.
Yes. Okay, and then what are some of the other relationships going on? I guess Lucy and Emmett. What do you think about those? Well, Pastel thinks there's a love triangle between Emmett, Lucy, and Matif. So let's go with a love triangle. What's your opinion on that?
I think there could be something, but like, I don't know if Emmett is really one for love triangles. I mean, triangles for sure, but not necessarily the love part. Like,
you're gonna take note of that. Emmett likes triangles.
Like, it's sort of that. Yes, people could probably, develop relationships with Emmett, but I think romantically, no. I think that's not really what that character's about right now, at least. Quite possibly in the future. Of course, not trying to lock out anything from other people's characters, but it's sort of much more of a... Yeah, Emmett is much more of a thrill seeker than a person who's about to, find a partner and decide that, it's a... yeah, to decide that this is their partner.
So going from the other way, so the reason I think Matif might be interested in Emmett is, first of all, he's not very good at showing his emotions or his desires. But I do remember from the one episode where Lucy played the comic and tragic game with everyone. He did end up having an aside with Emmett and asking her, some more personal questions, especially like related to, people that she's cared for, and they also share a very similar origin. both being pirates, so that's kind of where I see them. Although Matif doesn't show it, I think he does find Emeth somewhat interesting.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with finding Emeth interesting. Well, I mean, most of the group is still sort of just an enigma to each other. And absolutely with the shared past, they're both pirates, and they both definitely have some things in common, some experiences they've shared on different vessels, different times, but they've probably had similar experiences and stuff. I think that they could probably have something together. They could maybe have love, but if not love, they could probably be very close otherwise.
Yes. And then with Lucy, one of the things that I find interesting is they're both very charismatic in their own way, but whenever they talk to each other, there's what I would say sometimes a lack of words, and they become quite awkward around each other, I feel.
Yes, definitely.
And then the reason for that being that I feel like when they talk to each other, it's something that's different, right? Because they haven't really, like, they've hinted at romance or like flings, but they've never actually specifically stated it. And every time it feels like it's going in that direction, it seems like they always end up talking more about maybe like their past. And so yeah, it's just a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then, are there any other relationships out there that have been kind of going in the direction?
I don't think there are really that many more. Like, of course, Aoife hasn't really been able to make any. Armesh is really just everyone's friend. When we meet people, they're either just people we do really weird stuff to, or they are old friends.
Or Johan.
Yeah.
That guy made a very bad decision to come talk to us.
Oh, yes, he did.
Alright, so let's go to the next question.
It's a terrific thing that Dante didn't pull out the bonk stick.
Well, it's I'm still laughing about that random Eldritch Blast that came out when everyone was talking. Because even Burn was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's just me misclicking.
Because I was just imagining it like being part of the actual story, where just a random Eldritch Blast just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, like the tension's rising, and Dante's standing there sort of going, I don't think I'm a part of this conversation anymore. And just starts fumbling with stuff and just... Oh.
And so let's go on to the next question. What plot lines are you most curious about?
Well, this is gonna be weird, but I'm incredibly curious about my own.
Obviously.
Yeah. Like, much of my my stuff has been done and managed by Merlin, which I'm grateful for. Which also just makes it so that a lot of the intricacies of Dante's future is entirely mysterious. But I mean, I'm also really interested in both Matif and Lucy. Of course, because we just saw stuff about Matif. uh,
Mm-hmm.
and also because Lucy has been hinting stuff for a while that sort of
Mm-hmm.
reached an apex with the imprisonment. So like everyone's got really cool stuff I want to know, but okay, really what I'm interested in is every storyline that we've really started.
Which is basically the whole, basically interested in everything.
Yeah, I want to know everything. I feed
Mm.
off of information and I need it.
Yeah, so the plot lines I'm most curious about are definitely Natif and Lucy, but I'm very curious to see how um, this political unrest and wartime. I'm curious to see how that is going to tie in with some of the supernatural, godlike stuff that we've seen, especially with like the spawn of Bhutan, all these mushrooms, and I wonder how that's going to fit in with the um, with all of the human, well, not human, but racial wars and or nation wars. And I'm kind of getting like a Game of Thrones vibe where the mushrooms and that are like the White Walkers, and they're like this big force that people are not paying attention to because they have their own troubles. But maybe they'll have to come together at the end in order to fight off this oncoming scourge.
Yeah. I'm also sort of feeling that with all the stuff going on, especially with halflings, that quite possibly Markovia could be doing like research into uh evil stuff to essentially just weaponize it. Uh that is definitely a thing Markovia would do, knowing just how militaristic they are. They'd probably not care much for ethics and war crimes. Uh, so I'm kind of imagining that in the future, like, Markovia's gonna do some messed up shit.
When you said that, I just imagined like a small band of genetically enhanced halflings. They're just capable of like ripping you in half, and they're also very magically gifted.
The magical
Actually, that's
steroids.
very scary. That's very scary now that I think about it.
Just an army of Dantes.
Who are also extremely fast. Basically, just like halfling Captain Americas with
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
That'd be terrifying.
Mm.
And so, I don't know. That kind of just threw off my whole train of thought. It's Captain America halflings. But I'm also very curious to see the rest of the nations, because we've only really experienced Markovia and that specific geography, but we still haven't encountered the dwarves, Liu Pai, the I forget what the place was called. Shimmering Isles, is that what it is? Wherever the Dragonborn come from.
Yeah. I could put up a map,
because
but
there's
that would
still
make you disappear, so I won't.
yeah, there's still so
Prismatic.
much lore that we haven't gotten. Still so much pages of notebooks that Merlin has yet to touch.
Mm. I'm sure we've only scratched the surface of Markovia, and it's just the world is big, and I want to see it too. I really want to see the Deadlands, but Dante doesn't, so I won't be talking about that anymore.
I'm sure we'll get our chances to see that.
Mm.
And
Maybe
so let's
one
go
day when
ahead
Dante isn't so weak.
And so let's go ahead and talk about the prophecy, and also how you feel like the final episodes are going to look like. So the prophecy, let me go ahead and bring it up so the viewers will have a chance to know what the uh, what we're talking about. So just give me a second while I bring it up.
I will give you all the
Okay.
seconds you need.
You don't have to because I already got it. So the prophecy. On the day that the Horned One approaches, there will appear a storm mighty and fierce. The seal of fire will break. A surrender shall mark an age of misfortune and pain. When the day comes that the song is sung thrice, a broken worm shall mark a time of hope and love. As the blood of time runs, a void will be banished once more. What do you think it means?
Well, I mean, I would look at it in just like the summary of a story. Like, I'd take much of it quite literally. Especially with how the tiefling showed up being the horned one and did stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her.
Yeah.
I wonder
It's
when
like,
she's gonna come back up.
as soon as I heard the prophecy, like my mind sort of split a bit, going, "Oh no, oh no, an age of misfortune, you say?" Something tells me we're gonna start that. And my mind also went to, "Oh, what a neat prophecy. I sure hope that's just world building."
So do you feel like the first two have already been set
I'm pretty sure
with that one episode?
well, we didn't start it. The tiefling started it, but I'm pretty sure
The
that
tiefling started it.
the prophecy is doing its thing, and that is probably going to be something that someone is going to have to deal with in the future. And there is a not zero chance that we are the ones who will help with dealing with it. So also has me a bit relieved because it'll be a while until we're strong enough to deal with like world level threats. I say after we like magnificently killed that hellspawn thingy.
Or Dante and actually, who else did a lot? Well, Aoife did a lot of work on that. Matif did a lot of work on that, and Dante definitely did a lot of work on that. Oh, and Emmett got a really good sneak attack in the beginning, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Lucy he's been struggling a little bit with combat. He hasn't been very effective. He's been using makeshift shields and trying to slash things that can't be slashed. Most of his support has come through social interactions, but he hasn't really shined in combat yet. I think the one thing I've seen that I remember is when he silenced the wizard who fireballed, I think like 2 or 3 people in episode 0. And then I think that's the most he's shined so far. But otherwise, he's just kind of been there. He does heal every once in a while, but he hasn't really shined too much.
Well, I think like not all characters even sort of have to shine in combat. Like it is hardly even half of our game. So I think like once we're against the right opponents and Lucy has the right setup with maybe a real shield at some point. Yeah, it's more like 1/8. That is right. Yeah. Like, Lucy will probably like find an opponent that he works really well against. It's well, I guess in this situation, like Lucy and Dante are sort of opposites. Of Dante just really going at it in combat and just sticking far to the back out of combat.
So I have an idea now that you said that. So we're going to get like a little harness so that Dante can just pick Lucy's back all the time.
That was a D&D meme at some point of having like like a halfling or a gnome stand on like the barbarian's back with a crossbow.
Yeah, so as one, they will be unstoppable.
It would probably be better if I had any kind of buff.
And then considering we are a little bit more than halfway through this arc, how do you feel like the final episodes of this arc will turn out?
But wasn't it? Didn't Merlin say that it was the end of the wine arc?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like
did he?
we're gonna start something new. Like, I have literally so few ideas about what the next arc is gonna be because we haven't picked up any story hooks. We haven't looked at any jobs. It was just Sandros who took the wine and left.
Well,
Sort of,
he did.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
it's just sort of like we're probably gonna head back into town and have like half an hour of all of us going sort of, what do we do? Before something happens and we all go, yes, let's go to the Deadlands. No.
So, my Deadlands, nice. My predictions, on where this arc will lead is, so as we know, Matif has a clear purpose in his mind. Well, maybe not clear, but he has a purpose in his mind at the moment. And Lucy also has something, uh, something of interest on that boat. So I feel like the group might be able to go that way. But they also have a possibility in, intervening or being somewhat involved with Markovia, especially with Johan, and his the person he's working for, the prince Ivan. There's also a possible plotline where we try to crash Xandros's party for not inviting us, because Evith seemed pretty upset about that.
Oh yeah.
And
Like-
that's in Liu Pai,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
No, it's just like real quick. Just I was so certain that we're not going to be invited to that party from the very beginning. like what? We're just wanderers, like adventurers. Just we don't go to fancy parties with expensive wine. Like what? It's just so far fetched going to that party. And yeah, probably I think we have like solid, a solid purpose on that ship, but I don't think it's quite yet. I think we have to do something first, and then we'll run into Xandros or hunt him down somewhere.
Yeah, and so with Liu Pai, if I remember correctly, the College of Hope that we've had some light shed upon, especially with the pink-haired gnome and Lucy's interactions with him inside the jail. I think that could be a place that we go to.
Yeah, definitely.
Explore that College of Hope, and while we're there, maybe crash Andros' party. Because as it was revealed, Lucy has been writing letters, and we were able to see who he's been writing the letters to. One of them specifically being Xandros, asking him to be part of his party as entertainment. And I'm sure you can imagine what type of entertainment Lucy was going to provide at the party.
Some very critical
party
stuff,
full
I'm
of
sure.
yeah, party full of rich people and possibly bureaucrats and political figures. And then yeah, I feel like there's a lot of places that the arc can lead into.
Like towards the end of this campaign, like our party's just gonna have to zigzag through the map because you've just been barred from every other town or country.
Yeah, so I won't get it too much into Lucy's grand plan. But let's just say that maybe that could be a case. And then so let's talk real quick about endgame predictions
Hmm.
before we go ahead and this will be our final question. Endgame predictions. What do you think?
Hmm. Well, I think the prophecy's gonna play a big role there. Um.
Mm.
I think me as a person, I'm hoping for just something like grand. I mean, that's just my inner weeb talking, but like something epic. Uh. And I know that Dante's hoping for something like just a happy ending for everyone. Like no one has to
Mm.
lose any loved ones, and no one has to get any more like emotional trauma or mental scarring. Uh,
You said Dante thinks that, but
I
that might indicate that Wyndham wants something different.
I mean, getting a little bit dark is neat as long as everyone's a part of it. Uh, and I think that I know that the prophecy's gonna play a part in the end, but I can't even begin to imagine what the end will be unless it's just someone messing with that divine gate thingy, which would be worrying. So it is sort of it is very big and open. I just sort of yeah, it's just sort of hoping that we're gonna have some fun and some questionable times until we get there.
Of that, I have no doubt.
It's gonna be a lot of questionable times.
And so, for those who haven't joined our tabletop Discord for VTT, make sure you join that if you'd like to see some of the conversations we have. Because in that Discord, I posted my prediction for what will happen in the next arc of VTT, and I'll share it with everyone real quick. And if you'd like more details, maybe join the Discord and we can talk about it. So my predictions are that Emmett and Lucy will die. Natif will become the villain. Dante will turn into an omnipotent god, whether that's a benevolent god or a malevolent god. We'll still see. Hamesh will somehow become the president, and Aoife will turn into a battle-hardened stoic antihero who leads the next group in their journey. How feasible does that sound to you?
I think some of these things could happen. Like, I mean, going on just metagame concept, someone is probably going to die along the way. And going in character, we're all kind of stupid, so we're probably going to die along the way. Like, Dante as a god, I think if someone offered him godhood, he'd probably not take it, just out of being afraid of it. But I think a lot of that could come true. Especially if everyone but Aoife dies and she's left alone. Then her thing will definitely come true.
Yeah, I have like this. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that's kind of what it feels like right now. All these different what's that one meme where the guy has like this board and he's like has all these threads linked to everything?
Yeah. That one, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just because
That's
we're
what I feel like.
starting every story ever so slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, we started off with Dante's early, so stuff is real weird there. And we're just getting hints at everyone else's story now. So it's like everything is tangled. So we're gonna need some time to like unravel these threads and start working on what it is our characters need and want.
And what I'm excited for is that I know this isn't the climax yet, and we've already had so much revealed and there's still so much to be revealed. So I'm really looking forward to continuing VTT, and whether Lucy or not, whether Lucy dies or not, um, I think that will still be interesting.
Mm. I think even if Lucy dies, he will do it spectacularly.
I think so as well. Um, Either spectacularly or so gloriously ugly that at least someone has to notice.
Yeah, like Lucy is either gonna die the greatest martyr or just another guy on a roadside, and that would be so sad. It would almost be brilliant.
Mhm. Don't give Merlin any ideas now. Actually, let's give him ideas.
I'm pretty sure he has both of those ideas already.
Mm. That would be such tragic irony if he ended up dying on a roadside.
Yeah, just this revolutionary guy just failing so bad.
Mm. That would be something I would be okay with. Just because if the story is good, I'm happy.
Mm.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close it there. Very glad we got to round out our cast. We were able to interview everyone, and I imagine the future of Otherside. We might have another go around with the cast, and maybe if we're feeling ambitious, maybe we can have multiple people on, or maybe some guests on. Of that future, we still have yet to see. So to wrap it up, will you go ahead and once again #plug yourself?
Ah, yes. Once again, I am Wynton Vossler, and or VyndhamVossler, the definitely real German guy of the VTT. Uh, and I'm a variety streamer. I like to have fun on my streams, play games, cook food, make pancakes, just sort of try to do my best. Yeah, working on a 100 follower special on my own channel at some point. Occasionally a cat boy. I think I've said everything there is to say about me now.
And I am Usubeni Yume, your host on the other side, Lucy and VTuber Tabletop, and also a YouTuber who does some poetry and philosophy on my channel under the same name. And I thank you very much for attending the other side today, and we will see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.